What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You with another episode of Black Fathers Now. Now, dig this, man. You know, when I say I have special guests, this is a legit special guest. And if you're watching the video, you'll see the dude, and you might see some similarity in our appearance. And there's a reason behind that. And that reason is we share genetic DNA. I have one of my brothers on today. And for those that don't know, I'm one of three boys. I'm 3.5 years older than my two younger brothers. And I said I'm 3.5 years older than my two younger brothers because my two younger brothers are twins. And one of the twins is on the show today. And the twin that I have is my brother, David Dorsey. Now, David is a husband. He's a new father, a new girl dad. That's actually why we got him on here today. He's from Augusta, Georgia, like I am. He's a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. All right, the bros in the building. It's a whole lot of us in the family for those that don't know. He currently lives in the Augusta, Georgia area. He works in retail. He spent years in retail management, and restaurant management, and sales, and this and that. And we might talk a little bit about his career as well. But long story short, he's a new girl dad. He's a husband, and brother got something to say. And so, long story short, ladies listening, fellas, let's welcome my brother, David Dorsey. What's up, man?
Man, what's going on, dude? I'm gonna have to get you to do all my introductions. And you have all the accolades and everything else, and we make it do what it do.
Man, look here, man. The only reason you got an introduction like that is because we're recording. Because usually I'm just like fool talk. So
I was sitting there like, oh dang, I need to get him to do this more often.
Yeah, well, we're public facing right now. But
yeah.
Anyway,
I got you.
Yeah, it's all good, man. But as folks who listen to Black Fathers Now know that we don't start this thing by jumping into your story. We always start with shout outs, because who are we without the support systems that are in place that'll help us to be who we are as men, as dads, as fathers, as business folks, So give a shout out to your support system, then we'll jump into your story, brother.
Well, first off, God on high. Can't be here without him off top. Secondly, gotta shout out my wife, Jewel Dorsey. Can't say the rest of the name because I already got in trouble about that one once. But yes, Miss Dorsey, love her. She's my baby mama, my wife, best friend, talk trash, do whatever. Just can't play spades together. That's about it. But yeah, I got my parents, my in-laws. I got the village that helps supports us and our new daughter, Sydney. And you may see me kind of sneak off a little bit because I got her over here watching ESPN. So if Stephen A say something crazy to her, she may make me jump over here. But yes, just the church family, just the extended, the cousins, the sisters, the brothers, everyone. Just shout out to everybody who's been there, who supported. Ones that if I forgot who you are, blame it on my head, not my heart. But like I said, we are here because of our village.
That's what's up, man. We'll say I am because we are. And it's always interesting because when I tell our story, and again, you and I are brothers, so we grew up in the same house. We had the same experiences. When I tell my story, it literally always comes back to this concept of village. And one of the things that's so interesting and unique about our unique story is the fact that, we grew up in an area in which we had 3 generations back in the area. So we had great grandparents who are all from the Augusta, Georgia area. And so therefore we have this long or this wide extended family, which served as our village. And we had family friends. And, I laugh because I wanted to get in trouble when I was younger, but it was hard to get in trouble because everywhere we went, somebody was there that knew who we were, even if we didn't know them.
And like, oh, so you such and such grandson?
Yes.
Huh?
Dude, let me tell you what was the craziest. Dude, I'm gonna tell you the most interesting thing that used to happen to me, and it happened all the time. You go through the mall, and some lady will walk up to you. Oh, Michael, good to see you. I heard you going to Georgia Tech. You know what? I was at your football game last week. You did a good job. And tell your brother that he needs to do this and that. And tell your mom I said hello. And tell your grandma I said hello. I see you later. And I'm just saying to myself, who are you? Like it's so many conversations. And then so I'm going home tomorrow. I'm like, hey, mama, some lady at the mall said hello. And she's like, well, who is she? And then I start describing. And the funniest thing was, you start describing who it was. Mom starts recollecting, and she's like, oh, that's so and so. So she'll tell you who it is, even without knowing it. But it was just this notion of we have this extended village who was there to help us, even when we didn't know that we were being helped, and there was a value to that.
Oh, absolutely. And I have it even further. Like, so Daniel and I both went to John M. Tutt Middle School, where our grandfather, Earl Thurman, was the first principal. And so my first day at school, we're doing the tour like everybody else does in middle school, all this good stuff. And so we go to the library. And so the librarian, she's asking people, oh, who is this? Who is this? And there's a portrait in the library. She asked one of the students, who is this? And they said something crazy like Martin Luther King, because that's whose picture everybody looks like anyway. So she comes and looks at me. So, Mr. Dorsey, who is this? Earl Thurman. Well, who is that to you? My grandfather. And so I'm trying to figure out the first day of school, who is this lady? And how does she know who I am already? Or better yet, going through middle school, the lunch ladies, they knew who we were. She was like, oh, you were Mr. Thurman's grandson. Don't worry about it. You got these extra fries. He was so good to me. I'm like, oh, thanks, granddad. So, just little stuff like that. And even as an adult, because I'm in the sales industry, I had people come in and start talking to me and be like, I know who you are, but I don't know if I should tell you who I am. And then it goes down the road and it'll be this person or this cousin or this cousin of this cousin, or, oh yeah, we go to Trinity, or I have a cousin that goes to Trinity, or I know this person. So being that I'm still in the Augusta area, that third, fourth generation is still deep, so deep in the area.
And what's interesting about it, again, we're talking about it from the standpoint of our personal experiences. And there's the African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. And, that's actually one of the initial inspirations for the Black Fathers Now podcast. The tagline is bringing the village to the brothers, because we now have technology to bring that insight, bring that support, bring that wisdom to brothers, no matter where they are in the world, so to speak, even if they don't physically have that village or that robust community that we had. We can still bring insight, inspiration, and wisdom to them through technology, through a podcast, through interviews, through videos. And so it's interesting because you mentioned that you're in the Augusta area where we all grew up, and you're married, and now you are a girl dad with, a new child that's a few months old, and she's now privy to having that robust community as well. What's that been like?
Oh man, it's a blessing. So as I stated before, our village is immense. So just the outpour of love, support that we've gotten just for the first 4 months of her life, plus during the pregnancy. So we have people who have adopted us in their family that aren't blood. They've gone above and beyond. I've had my wife asking me questions of, what did you do for these people to be doing this? I'm just like, it's just a community. They feel this way. We have a bond from, I don't know if I can drop any names in here, can I?
I mean, you can drop whatever you want. This is your story, brother.
Okay, so like with the pregnancy, one of the people that have been very supportive is Dr. Robin Hatley. And so I've been leaning on him since the inception, because we are older having a first child. So, I'm biology, chemistry background. So my mind's racing. I'm going through all the scenarios, thinking all the bad things, all the good things. I have no clue about which way to go. But he's been right there, and I've been able to lean on him throughout the entire process. And so he's basically turned into Uncle Robin. So he gets his FaceTime with Sydney. He gets to see her, stuff like that. And he's just been supportive from, hey, this is the doctor you need to go see. these are the people that are going to be best for you. And then one thing with that, which I was really big on, just because looking at it from a historical standpoint, I wanted a African American female team around my wife and my child when they were coming into this world.
Why is that?
Looking at it,
What was important about that for
so
you?
just looking at it from a statistical standpoint, a Black woman's voice is not heard like it should be in the medical field, especially around childbirth. There are more African American women who go through extra pain or loss during childbirth, or even children are lost during childbirth. And it may not be any implicit bias, maybe unconscious bias, but there is a bias there. And so to have individuals who look like you, who have been through experiences such as yours, will actually have an effect on your whole experience going through this. So we were blessed to be able to have Black doctors there for the child's birth. We were able to have Black doctors throughout the entire process. We have a Black pediatrician. So it's not blackety black, but it's still able to have individuals who understand what we're going through to be able to talk to us and understand our story, and not just say, oh, you're not in that much pain. If my wife says she's in pain, she's in pain. If we have a concern about my child, I want you to take that as a valid concern and not just saying I'm overreacting. So those are certain things that we had going in, and Dr. Hatley was excellent. He was great. He facilitated us being able to get in touch with the right people at the right times and guided us in that direction. So first, secondly, shout out to Dr. Hatley also. Sorry
No
about that.
doubt, no doubt. And it's interesting. He and I have actually chatted because I want to have him on the podcast at some point. So
Oh,
if you're hearing this, Dr. Hatley, this is your public request to come on the podcast and really share your story.
Yeah.
But but what's interesting though, dude, you mentioned the intention of having, African American professionals around your wife and daughter, and the importance of that. And I'll tell you, there's a subtle importance. So sometimes we just look at it from the standpoint of we want social proof to see what's possible, and we want comfort from that regard. But the other part to it is, and it's like this cultural connection where you don't always have to explain things, right? It's kind of like you and I can sit down on the sofa, something comes on TV, I can just look at you and you know what's happening. We don't have to go through and explain, transcribe this and transcribe that. And sometimes having to explain yourself all the time is exhausting, right?
Yeah.
And when you're in spaces in which you are the only one, or you are one of the few, and there's not a lot of exposure to those that of you and of your experience,
Yes,
it
absolutely.
causes you to have to transcribe to, I have to, if people say, oh, I got to white explain this, or I got to black explain this, or they put it where you can
Yeah.
understand it. I got to give another analogy. So I can't talk about this type of music. I need to make it country music so that you can get it. And, and
Make
it's
you
like,
feel comfortable.
that's right. And it's okay. Again, I'm all about, exposure leads to expansion. We need to expand
Absolutely.
our horizons, but there are times in which that gets exhausting. And you just like, look, I just want somebody who can just look at me and just kind of get it. And they're just like, yo, okay, this is not, you get it. You understand where we're
Yeah,
coming
absolutely.
from. And it makes a lot of sense. And what's interesting about that, that's a challenge that some of us face when we live in environments that are not overly diverse. And so,
Absolutely.
full transparency, we live in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Knoxville, Tennessee is not the most diverse place in the world from the African American perspective. Like
Yeah.
there's, I think the African American percentage in Knoxville is roughly the average for the United States. But when it comes to like professional careers, there's not a whole lot of Black physicians. Like I don't believe there's a Black pediatrician in metropolitan Knoxville.
Oh, wow.
And so even though we have great physicians and we have great, pediatricians and all of that, there is a cultural disconnect at times because that component is not available to us.
Oh,
So yeah.
absolutely. And so to actually speak on that, so we live in the Augusta area. More accurately, we live in Aiken, South Carolina, which is about 30 miles outside of Augusta, Georgia. And so I'm from Augusta, I'm a Georgia boy, got me old Carolina girl. It is what it is. But Aiken there's a hospital here in Aiken, but it doesn't have a pediatric department. They can deliver babies, but if something goes wrong, there's no specialties to actually take care of that. And so that was one of the things that we were looking at, because my wife being from Aiken, it's much more convenient if we can go to the doctor that's 10, 15 minutes away instead of 30 or 40 minutes. But the comfort level that we have with being able to go across the bridge, and because of our family being 3, 4 generations in the Augusta area on the professional teaching medical side, we have those connections so that it makes it much easier for us to find things that we need. And if I need anything, it's right there. And so we're blessed because the Aiken area, as in most of South Carolina, there are medical deserts. So there are gaps where you're not going to have the type of medical expertise you're going to need close by.
Yeah, hold on. You know, so let's jump into that, because again, we're talking about you being a new father, a new girl dad, and what you're talking about are, in essence, some of the things to consider when, you know, your wife is pregnant, or when you're about to be a new dad, or if you're a lady listening, you're about to be a new mom. Things to consider. And it's interesting because you dropped something that was actually something that we considered with the birth of our 2 children, you know, now almost 11 years ago, our oldest, and almost 9 years ago, our youngest. And that was the facilities and the options or the capabilities of the facilities in which where your kids are going to be born. So in the Knoxville area, there was, you know, at the time that our kids were born, there were 2 primary health systems that a lot of people use: University of Tennessee and Covenant Health Systems. And they had Covenant had a few different locations, and a lot of our contemporaries went to Covenant Health System to have their baby at, you know, they had Children's Hospital and Sanders, some different names of hospitals. A lot of our contemporaries had babies there. But when I was in the pharmaceutical industry, I spoke with a nurse practitioner who mentioned that she delivered at the University of Tennessee because the University of Tennessee had a neonatal NICU in-house at the University of Tennessee. Now, I think things may have changed. They may have added one at one of the Covenant hospitals. But the challenge was, if we were to go to one of the Covenant hospitals and deliver, should one of our kids need a neonatal NICU, which is a neonatal ICU, then they would have had to take our kid from that hospital, transfer them to Children's Hospital, which would have been a separation between us and our baby. Whereas if there were some challenges at UT where we ultimately decided to deliver, our kids could get the treatment from the neonatal ICU in-house, and they didn't have to leave the facility. And full transparency, with our oldest daughter, there were complications at delivery, you know, and so they had to basically revive her and do all of this stuff. And so we had to have specialists come in for a day or so while we were still there. Everything turned out fine. She's a ball of energy now, but that was one of the things that gave us comfort. And so if you are someone who is about to have a kid for the first time, or you know someone that is, these are things to think about when you decide on where you want to deliver, where you want your child to be delivered.
Oh, absolutely. Because as a new dad, like I said, when it comes to the birth and everything, you have no control. You're just as bystander. You're sitting there watching, being a cheerleader. So all you can do is prepare and try to put all the ducks in a row, dot all the I's, cross all the T's, and just make sure you've done everything that you can on the front end, so that when it's game time, you go and you got the people in place that can take care of it, that you feel comfortable with, and that you understand that they know what they're doing. Because that's also another side of it, is you have to feel comfortable, because that can affect the childbirth also. And so, just full transparency. So Sydney decided to come when she wanted to come. And so they had to do an emergency C-section. So it just, when it's time to go, it was time to go. So like I said, I fully understand that. And like I said, just having the facilities in place, especially in the Augusta area, we were blessed to be able to have those places that could take care of these things, just so we were comfortable. And so that my wife and my child both survived. And so that's another thing that people don't take into consideration. It's things can happen that you don't even think about. And so you just want, like you said before, want the place to have all the facilities so that you're not separated from your child at childbirth. We understand that things are going to happen.
Yes, and I'm gonna throw something there too, because we also want to address the fact that there are there's a rise in people who do work with doulas and do very much natural childbirth and home births and all of that. And so and that's when you do your research, if that's the route that you want to take, that's awesome. You know what I'm saying? But
I
it's the
agree.
whole premise of laying everything out and paying attention to what's going on and making the decision that's right for you and your family. Because the reality is there are going to be people who can, successfully do home birth and deal with doulas and completely natural, don't even have to go through the hospital system and all. I mean, there are a lot of people. I mean, we have friends and family that do that. That's awesome, right?
Absolutely.
But it goes back to what you dropped the gem in a sense of you have to do what is comfortable to you and your family. And so if that's something that you all are comfortable with, you've weighed it all out, perfect. Let's rock and roll with that. On the flip side, maybe you've kind of done the risk analysis and you're like, we need to kind of go a traditional route based off of, what we're dealing with. And that's okay. That's the beauty of having options. There's no one way to do things. There are options, and you want to do what's best to give your family the best chance for success and being able to thrive long in life.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, just having those options. And like I tell people, you like it, I love it. So if you decide you want to go with the doula, you decide you want to do the home birth or the water birth, more power to you. My wife was like, give me them drugs. Let's go. So
again, it's to each his own. And the reason I wanted to really have you on to talk about this is you're literally, you have a 4-month-old, right?
Yeah.
This is something you all just went through a couple of months ago. And
I said, yeah.
Yeah. And let's throw this other monkey wrench in here. And again, obviously we can't avoid it. You all had a baby in the middle of COVID. I see. See, if you're just listening to this, you didn't see his eyes basically get humongous when I said that. But talk to us about pregnancy in the middle of COVID, baby showers in the middle of COVID, and then ultimately delivering a child with all the different protocols and restrictions and stuff in place in the middle of COVID. Talk to us, man.
So we're blessed. We got pregnant January of 2021. So I guess going into the second year of COVID, this is before the vaccine was really readily available or even available to the public yet. So just going through that, just going to doctor's visits is different because of our age, maternal age. We had a specialist. I've never met the lady. I've seen her on FaceTime calls, on Zoom calls, but I was not allowed in the office because she was not playing any games. She deals with high-risk pregnancies. So the mother went in without me. So I could talk to her via calls and stuff like that. So that's different. And like I said, if you're a first-time mom and you're nervous, not being able to have that support person with you can possibly affect how you're feeling. Give me 1 second.
Okay, no problem. Look, see, this is Black Fathers now. He's being a father right now. He had to slide over and handle little Sydney because he's babysitting and interviewing.
Hey, it ain't babysitting, taking care of my child.
Well, thank you for clarifying. See, and we have to change our terminology because again, I don't babysit. I keep my kids. I take care of my kids. I'm playing with my kids. I'm showing up. I'm not babysitting. Thank you for clarifying that.
Babysit. We drop her off and pick her up.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Fellas, if you are that baby's pappy, you ain't babysitting. You keeping your kids.
The pappy.
That baby pappy. That baby pappy. But but go back. So the whole notion of pregnancy visits, and you mentioned you weren't able to go to like the visits when you had to go meet with the specialist due to COVID. And that's, dude, I ain't gonna lie, I went to every appointment, every scenario, every interaction, every interview, every pediatrician visit before, I was at everything. And I was there arm in arm with my wife because we were a unified front, right?
Yeah.
But you weren't able to do that due to COVID.
So I made every visit. I just couldn't physically be there. I'd be in the car playing on my phone, wait till I get that phone call. Like, all right, cool, we're gonna look at the sonogram, we're gonna look at the heartbeat, we're gonna do all these things, but I couldn't physically be there. And then sometimes we even had my in-laws, they'd ride shotgun too. And so, like if I had to go to work afterwards, they'd ride along, and then they'd be the taxi bringing her back home. So it was one of those, like I said, part of the village. But yeah, COVID, it's COVID is COVID. Rona just be messing up stuff. So, but then with the OBGYN, the delivery doctor, I was able to go in. But even with them, the mom, Sparkle, will go in, get seated, and once she got back to a room, then they will allow me to come back in and be part of the visit. So that was a little bit better. But then even with delivery, wasn't nobody allowed to come up there. Like we delivered at Doctor's Hospital, and they did a great job of maintaining, like, hey, it's gonna be the mama and one person. Doesn't matter who it is, it's one person. And that's just to protect the babies, to protect the mothers. So the staff has one less layer of concern for what's going on, especially during the pandemic and everything else. Now, kind of backtrack, talking about these baby showers. Let's talk about this village. We got a big old family. And I didn't quite anticipate the excitement around, I guess, since I'm the baby boy, I'm the youngest twin, I guess. But yeah, a lot of folks been waiting for us to have a child. I guess when you 20 years in the game, they just like, hey, y'all decided to have one. Cool. We've been waiting on this. I'm like, yeah, this is my sweetheart. We started dating in high school, or senior year in high school. She broke up with me. Still don't know why. We
You weren't acting right. That's all it was. Yeah.
I'm still looking for receipts. All I know is I get one of them Dear John letters talking about we not together no more. But then she showed up at my aunt's wedding that summer. Not salty about it no more. It is what it is. But yeah, so we've been together off and on since 2001. Had a baby in 2021. Got married in 2013. So we've been married for almost 9 years now. So with all that saying, the baby showers were highly anticipated. So because she's the first grandchild on her side and number 5 on our side with our parents. Hold on right quick, baby talking to me.
Okay, it's okay. Sydney says she wants to be part of the interview. That's all. It's all good. But again, like I said before, this is Black Fathers Now, man. So fathers got to do what fathers do. Take care of their kids. And she's 4 months. So, she's doing what she's supposed to do. Hey, girl.
Ma'am. What's wrong?
She like, Daddy, you taking too much time on this interview. That's all it is.
I see that.
Sydney, I ain't gonna hold Pops too much longer.
And so what we did was, with the baby shower, we ended up deciding to kind of break them up. So we did one with our side of the family in the Georgia side, mom's backyard. We did another one at her folks' house outside for her side of the family. And like I said, we had 400 plus people at our wedding. So we could have easily had a combined 400 people at a baby shower.
But due to
with
COVID,
Rona going on, that wasn't feasible. So we tried to keep it outside both times, had tents, masks, just trying to keep everybody safe. But we still wanted to celebrate. So,
but the thing that's interesting about it is like, COVID threw a monkey wrench, and it's basically a curveball. But the reality is, if you think about the baseball analogy, if you're going to be a great hitter, you got to learn to hit more than just fastballs. And so COVID being a curveball, you just have to learn how to hit those curveballs. And for you all, it was like, okay, how do we navigate this? Okay, we need to split this thing up. Instead of having one large we need to have a couple of small to keep the group smaller, keep things separated, and have space involved due to what was going on at the moment, 6 months ago. And so I think it's interesting delivering. And you mentioned, like, okay, there were times in which you couldn't physically show up, but so you
Yep.
had to have virtual. And even in delivery, it used to be like when we delivered, it was just us in the room delivering. But after the baby was born, then all the grandparents could come in the room, and it was all this, in and out. That was a difference. And so I think the COVID-19 pandemic has thrown a monkey wrench or a curveball, but I think what we've learned to do and what we've had to do, because your back is against the wall, you just learn to hit curveballs now. And
Oh, yeah,
so
absolutely.
you just adjust. And there's nothing right or wrong about it. You just lean into it and you adjust, and you hit home runs off curveballs just like you do off fastballs.
Oh, no, I definitely agree with that. And with the pandemic, it kind of also gave us the ability to, if this was normal times, there'd have been people in and outside this house touching the baby, all kind of stuff, which, that kind of knocked that down a whole bunch. You just
Mhm,
not popping up at nobody's house checking on the baby, like, hey, we want to come see the baby. All right, well, let's kind of set something up.
mhm,
Versus during the pandemic, it's, yeah, now she ain't really taking visitors right now. So
mhm,
we'll let y'all know when we get back to that. And
uh-huh,
we've been blessed because, like I said, knock on wood,
mhm,
baby ain't been sick. We trying to get through this cold season. Got 2 more months to get through
mhm.
this flu season. And if we can make it through the first one, praise Jesus, no sick baby. Mm,
Oh, we're gonna claim well-being and wellness no matter
yes.
what. You know what I'm saying? So I want to also kind of jump into, you mentioned, the process and delivery
Mhm.
and birthing and all of that. And, you all being in your late 30s, being
Yeah.
parents for the first time. So that means you've had 38 years or 37 and a half years of, insight and wisdom and stories, and everybody telling you what you should do, what you're going to look out for, and all of that. Thinking about like lessons learned versus what was told to you about being a first time dad. Talk to me about what you found to be completely true versus what you found to be like, yeah, I don't know about that
Well, first thing first, you ain't gonna love nobody like you love your child.
one.
And you can understand that people are, yeah, when you have that first child, that look in the eye, you won't understand. And I had a good buddy of mine, Tracy Ferris, and he told me, he was like, until you have your own, you won't quite understand it.
Mm,
And I got nieces and nephews, and I do anything for them, die for them, love them.
mm,
He was right.
mhm,
It's a completely different love that you have for your own, which I can't understand it. It just is what it is. Like, as a
mhm,
father of two, you definitely understand that. And like I
yeah,
said, I love my niece and nephews, both Maxwell Morgan,
mhm,
Haley, and Lil Daniel, and all my other ones, countless.
mhm,
It's a different love you have.
mm,
Now, each child is different
yes.
because everybody tells me, "Oh, you got to do this." No, my child is unbothered.
Mm.
If you feed her and leave her alone, she cool. Now you
And
don't
hold
feed
her.
her,
Yours likes to be held too. So
yeah.
yeah,
Like, she's sitting here on my knee right now,
I
playing with my
know.
bracelet. Just that's all she wanted, some attention. But
Hmm.
then when she don't want to be bothered, she'll sit in her chair and just sit there and look at you.
Mm.
So it's just one of those things. Like, my wife says, I be force feeding her at night. I do between 10 and 12. She gonna get this bottle so she
Uh-huh.
sleep from 12 to 6.
Okay.
Mm-mm. I'm trying to get me a solid 6 hours of sleep.
Man,
The baby
dude,
gets 6, I get 6.
look, 4 months in, being able to get 6 hours of sleep is a doggone. That's so for folks that are already dads and moms, if y'all listening to, y'all know what we're talking about. You have a point when that baby's first born where if you can get like 3 straight hours of sleep, you feel like you slept 12 hours, right?
Yeah.
So 4 months in, if you can get 6 solid hours of sleep, you're like, dude, I mean, I don't know where all this energy is coming from because I'm feeling refreshed. It's something about it. And you don't understand it. Even like when you were, younger in college, hanging out and staying up till 4 and then getting up at 6 to go to class and whatever, that whole being tired, nothing compares to this whole every hour, every 2 hours. Ooh.
Well, it's one of those things as a new parent, you get up and you sit there, is the baby breathing?
Yeah.
You gotta make sure. I know she moved. What's going on? Is she
Mhm,
supposed to move like that?
mhm,
She breathing, but she made a noise. Like she
mhm.
doing right now. You want this pacifier, don't you, baby? I'm sorry. Here you go. There you go. So, but it's one of those things that, yeah, my wife be talking about me bad. You gonna make that baby eat? Yes, because I
Mhm.
didn't figure this out so far. A full baby will sleep. So
Oh,
first
fellas,
thing
fellas,
first,
hold on. That's a new dad gym. A full baby will sleep.
yes, feed the baby. Make sure
Feed the
that baby
baby.
full. That stomach is full as it can be. You didn't
Mhm.
burp them.
Uh-huh.
Lay them down. Because when that stomach empty, they up and they bothering you.
Oh, dude,
Feed me. And once they get up, they not going right back down. So another trick I got is I will wake her up at 5.5 hours and place a bottle in her mouth so she go back to sleep.
so
Mm,
okay. So what's interesting is he's giving tactics that are working for him, but he also mentioned right before the importance of understanding that each kid is different, right? And I'll tell you what's interesting about that based off of our experiences. Morgan, my oldest, she literally at 6 weeks was sleeping through the night. We could put her down at like 11. She would sleep from 11 to 6. It was like you fed her, we put her in a swaddle, and it was like she would move for a little bit, and then it was like the sleeper hold. She was out. But Maxwell, my youngest, this little dude didn't sleep through the night until it was well over a year. Like he was one that woke up 2, 3 times a night, no matter what. He could be full, he could be, you know,
oh,
feeling perfect. Dude was just he basically said what the Lord gonna give you what we were thinking that this was easy with Morgan. Maxwell came along and he was like, oh, no. We saw the other end of that spectrum when it comes to
yeah,
sleep.
this one trying to trick us.
Yeah, trying to trick us. Yeah, so Morgan
Trick us.
tricked us.
Oh,
We were just
yeah.
like, oh,
This
everybody's
easy.
talking about this lack of sleep. Come on, we got this. Man, please. Maxwell, the young brother gave it to us.
She trying to trick us. See, it's easy having a baby. Go ahead and have another one real quick. Let's
Ooh,
figure this one out real quick.
let's
Mm-mm.
figure this one out. Let's enjoy the moment. Let's be here.
Yeah. No, ain't no rushing on this.
I love it. I love it. And so, dude, I know you're spending time with little girls. So we're gonna wrap this thing up in a second. But before we wrap it up, man, as a new girl dad with
Hmm.
a 4-month-old, in the middle of COVID and delivery and pregnancy, all this stuff, and supporting your wife and doing your thing and working, what advice do you have for new dads?
Well, one thing is I was blessed because I work for a corporation that gave me 8 weeks of paternity leave. So
Mm.
and that's one of the things, another grown folks moment is when you look at a job, look at these benefits.
Mhm.
Because that makes a hell of a difference. Um, so I was able, while we were pregnant, to go to the doctor's visits. I was able to be there to support my wife. And then after the birth, because we did have a C-section, my wife needed extra support. And
Mhm.
so I was able to take the first couple weeks and just be home. But then because of our village, we were able to have my mom, who's retired, and my in-laws, who were kind of partially retired, not, but come and support us so that I could go back to work until my wife decided to go back to work. And so we were able and blessed that she was able to take her time. As a business owner, if she don't work, she don't get paid. So she took as much time as she needed to. And then when she went back to work, I was able to take the remainder of my paternity leave.
Mhm.
So one big thing I would tell you is if you have a village in your area that you love, that you support, that supports you and that loves you, definitely lean on your village. Because this is something that me and my wife, we talk about. The people that have to do this by themselves, I have a completely different level of understanding, love, and just respect for you because we grown, we're financially secure, but we couldn't have done this by ourselves.
Mm.
I wouldn't want it to try to do it by ourselves. And just being able to have the village to support us is something that I'm grateful for. And like I said, I didn't quite understand that until I had my own. And we went through having a birth, went through having a C-section and having to heal. And just that by itself is huge. And just
Mm.
going through that process, it's kind of changed your mindset on certain things in life. Just it's just one of those that once you see it and go through it, you have a better understanding of it.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, and fellas, I hope you're paying attention. The importance of building a strong village, right? Building a strong community. I interviewed a brother a couple of years ago out of Toronto named Dr. Vibe, and when we were talking, one of the things, I used the quote, "Your network is your net worth," and
Absolutely.
he checked me on that, and he said, Mike, I like to rephrase that, and it's really not your network, but it's your community.
Hmm.
And he gave the reason behind it. He said, with a network is something that you tap into when you need, but there's no level of connection or responsibility associated. When it's a community that you are involved in, or your village would be synonymous with a community, there's something that you feel a level of responsibility to. So it's not always I'm tapping in when I need something, but it's I'm responsible to this, and others that are part of that community responsible as well. So if you take the gem that David just dropped there, I think it's important to build your community wherever you are. They say grow where you're planted.
Hmm.
And, some are fortunate to have blood family or really close family friends, but then there are some that really don't have that luxury or don't have that option. And so you have to build that community
Hmm.
through neighbors, through your church or religious community. You got to build
Yep.
it through your coworkers and, different entities, groups, associations, fraternities,
Hmm.
sororities, these different organizations. You have to build your community, but the reality is you need to have a community. That's the
Yes.
key, because you cannot effectively do this by ourselves. I don't care how much money you have, how smart you are, how many books you've read, you need other people. And to me, that's the key gem to all of this is the importance of building community, the importance of support, and the importance of family, because no matter who you are, you're going to need help along the process.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something that since we've gone through, we have another, he's basically a brother who's having his first child in his late 30s also. And so we've been able to anything that I know, anything that I've learned, I give it to him. And then
Mm.
he's actually moving back to the area. And so it's like, hey, we're gonna be right there.
Mhm.
And just the level of support that I didn't realize was needed for childbirth or for young children. Whew. Hey
You're
brother,
able
here
to
you go.
provide it. You
Whatever
do.
you need, this is what we got. Matter of fact, these are extra diapers that we not gonna use. You're gonna need them. Don't
Mhm.
buy
Take it.
nothing because you're gonna grow through them. Because
Mhm.
this one here, 4 months, about to be the size 3. I'm
Mm.
just like, what I'm gonna
Yeah.
do with this whole box of size 2s that we
Yeah.
opened? It-
That's it. That's it. But Maya Angelou said it best. She said, when you get, give, when you learn, teach. Right.
yes.
And if for you to become proficient in what you do, you need to teach somebody else, because that's where you can really put it into practice and show and learn. And that also helps the next person. But then you also create this, it's like energy is neither lost nor gained, is transferred, right? So then
Yep.
you start doing that for others, and then they feel the need to do that for someone else, and then we create this de facto community and or village. And again, it doesn't have to be biological family, it could be a community that you create, but you are in need of a village, you're in need of a community if you want to position yourself best to thrive. Relationships matter. All
Oh,
right.
absolutely. It definitely does. And as usual, your voice is putting your niece to sleep.
That I know she always does that. Whenever it's either she doesn't want to fool with me, she's turning away, or she goes to sleep. So that's a good thing. So maybe you need to put the podcast on playlist during bedtime, when she starts getting hyped. But cool, man. Well, dude, I'm gonna let you get ready to put her down, and man, I appreciate you stepping on and dropping some gems for the fellas. And again, this is a dude, he's a new girl dad. He's doing his thing. He dropped some gems, but I want you to take heed to the importance of relationships, the importance of asking questions, the importance of, curveballs are going to get thrown. Learn how to hit curveballs in life. COVID is a curveball. You got to learn how to hit them just like you hit the fastball. Just live life, man. Remember that advice is going to come at you, but you have to look at what's right for your family. Think about where you're going to deliver your kid. I mean, whether it's going to be in a hospital, whether you're going to use a doula, whether you're going to do a home water birth, whatever, weigh out all the options and pick what's right for you, and make that decision, but figure out what's best for you. That's the key. Whatever's best for you, your family, your wife, your kid, that's the decision that you make. And, y'all go and be great. And perfection is not a requirement for greatness. So y'all check this out. Anything else you want to leave before we shut this thing down, brother?
Man, I just appreciate you having us on today, and putting Cindy down for her nap time. Appreciate you using your voice, baby whisperer. But no, like I said, it's been a pleasure to sit and talk about it, and maybe we'll be back on. I think the last time I was on here, we were in Jamaica having a good time before the baby.
Oh yeah. That was pre your baby, and our babies were with the grandparents, and we did a little round table discussion in Jamaica. Had a good time, It might have been one of the inspirations which led to the babies, huh? That's another conversation.
Make it do what it do.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, anybody, definitely when you're having that first child, find some fellas to talk to, find some people that you trust, and just be able to talk to them about it, because everyone has an experience, and most of the times we don't talk about the bad part or the planning part. We just talk about the fun part. So if you're going through, if you're stressing, if you're unsure, a closed mouth don't get fed. So open up and ask somebody questions, especially if you think you don't know, ask. And I was lucky enough that I have brothers, that I have uncles, I have family members, I have friends that are fathers before me that I can ask questions to. And don't be scared to ask these questions, because it only betters you. And like I said, it's just that, don't be scared. And as Black men, as men in general, a lot of times we're scared to ask questions because we don't want to hear the answer, or we don't think someone has an experience that they can share with us. But then you come to find out, oh yeah, I was nervous. Oh yes, this was going on. No, I had no clue what was going on. So you don't feel isolated, you don't feel alone. So my only thing is, ask, talk to somebody, and if you need help, get it.
Ask the questions, and if you need help, get it. Ain't no better way to end this one than with that. So fellas, as always, make sure to follow Black Fathers Now anywhere you listen to podcasts, subscribe, share this thing out. If you're a new dad, or if you know a new dad, shoot this thing over to them. If you know someone that's expecting to be a father, shoot this thing over. Oh, also in the link in the bio, I'm also going to have a link to my course, Jumpstart Fatherhood. And this literally is a 15 module course, which is really designed to help expecting fathers learn, think, and approach this thing so that they can become the best dads they can be. And some of the things that, my brother David dropped, you'll actually see and experience in Jumpstart Fatherhood. So, but yeah, as always, share this thing out, leave ratings. Is anything we can do for you, definitely shoot email, blackfathersnow@gmail.com. And until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace.
All right.